help prepare us for our recital and to progress as musicians, our instrumental teacher Simon has given us worksheets every week throughout the year. The worksheets have included major scale across the fretboard, the harmonised major scale, modes of the major scale, chord extensions, sight reading, and examples of stylistic songs such as the jazz standard Room 335. An example of one of the worksheets is the A mixed Lydian mode from the modal from the modes of the major scale, and I used that on Cannonball Shuffle on the recital piece. And I would have used that kind of like a it's quite a bluesy sounding mode, and I would also added in the minor third to make it sound more bluesy. We've also gone over stylistic techniques every week with song examples from the live performance workshop. We looked at the song we were doing in the LPW that week. We analysed what's going on in the song, such as genre, techniques, time signature, structure, and anything else interesting in the song. We also talked about what techniques are used in the genre we are playing, and also talked about common chord progressions and chord extensions used in that genre. We also talked about scales and modes and how they could fit into that genre too. So I'll give you an example from the bridge from What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, which is an A minor 9 to a B7 sus chord. It goes like this. Then to the next chord. And over that we talked about how you can use A Dorian over the A minor 9, because it's a minor chord with an added 9. So you could either use, from the major scale mode, you could either use natural minor or Dorian. You couldn't use Phrygian because of the Phrygian as a flat second, and Dorian fits better in that kind of music because it's this kind of sound. Which is more of a happy kind of sound, which is kind of more fit into the style compared to more of a minor sound where the natural minor sounds a bit darker like this. So some improvising ways I'd use the Dorian mode would sound like over this would be like. I'd try and bring out the F sharp in it, which gives it that Dorian sound because it's the 13 or the 6. And over the B7 sus, this chord, I would use a B mixed Lydian, because the song's in E major. The song's in E major, and the A minor 7 comes from the G the G major, key of G major, whereas the B 7 sus, I'd say that comes from more of a going back to the E, because when it goes after that chord, it goes back to the E major 7. So I'd use B mixed Lydian over that, this scale. And I would improvise using that like this. So. Which is kind of like it's quite a dissonant kind of sounding mode, because it's playing this kind of sound with it. In the LPW performances, we often had 2 guitarists. We also talked about how we could make 2 guitar parts fit if there wasn't already 2 guitar parts. Most of the time, one guitar would play the guitar part, which was actually written for the guitar part, and the other guitar would play a brass section or a string part, such as on Hercules by Aaron Neville. The main guitar part was doing this. Which I look at as a G sharp minor 7 to an F sharp major back to the G sharp minor. There isn't any string part for this, so the way we arranged it in the LPW is I thought of playing like a harmony thing to it. So what I was doing, what the original was and what I was doing was on that I'm hitting which is the minor 7th and the minor 3rd of the G sharp 7 chord. And the next chord I'm doing which is the root, the G sharp minor chord, and then a perfect 4th. So that adds an interesting flavour to the song. Then I go to which is like an F sharp major chord, but it doesn't have the 5th. It's just the root and the 3rd. So even before we knew what the recital pieces were, we were practicing different chord progressions, different styles, different rhythms, different genres through the year, which helped us when we did our final recital. An example of this is when we did What's Going On by Marvin Gaye for LPW. We changed some chords to fit the melody, such as on the original chord progression, the verse is E major 7 to C sharp minor 7, which sounds like this. Simon suggested changing it to an E major 9 and a C sharp minor 11 because of the F sharp that's on the saxophone riff at the beginning, and it's also in the melody as well, the vocal melody. So what it originally sounds like is what we changed it to is which I think sounds more interesting, and it's a way of um, altering the song slightly, but still recognisable as the original song. Um, I use these techniques and styles in practicing new songs at home, and also at Cafe Jazz on the jam night we have on every Monday, where we jam new ideas with other players on the course and also new players too. So when someone would talk about playing a funk jam, I think back to the ideas that Simon has shown us in class, such as the chord progressions, the chord extensions, and improvising ideas for funk. So an example of this is Simon would show us like the 9 chord, it's like a dominant 9 chord, it's like a dominant 13 chord. So like, say if someone said play a funk jam in D, I'd probably do something like a yeah. With the actual recital pieces we did, our 3 songs were Cannonball Shuffle by Robin Ford, Never Too Much by Paul Jackson Jr., and the jazz standard Autumn Leaves. We were graded for different things on each piece, such as on Cannonball Shuffle, we were graded for accuracy of the lead playing, so the main riff part in it, and also improvising using major and minor pentatonic scales over the solo. Never Too Much were graded on accuracy of playing the lead part, improvising using modes, and incorporating octave playing in the solo. Playing on Autumn Leaves, we were graded on playing through the chord chart, playing the head, and improvise using major scale modes, and also incorporating some arpeggios into the solo. When practicing these songs, I was concentrating on a few different things, such as stylistic approaches to the song, such as the genre and getting the right techniques and tones. So like obviously for Autumn Leaves I was getting quite a jazzy which is very different to the blues tone where I was more on the humbucker and with the overdrive. I looked at other artists for inspirations on these songs, such as on Cannonball Shuffle. I looked at blues artist Freddie King, as Cannonball Shuffle was a tribute to him. So I looked at songs like Hideaway, which is very similar to Cannonball Shuffle, as it's an instrumental as well. But I didn't sit down and learn a lot of his licks. Well, I didn't sit down and learn any of them, except for one of them, which I used in my solo, it's quite a simple lick, but I thought it's quite an interesting blues one. It's not even a lick, it's just like 2 notes. Which I thought added quite a bit of tension mid-solo, so like... While learning the lead part of the song, I did struggle quite a lot with this one, as I didn't play many instrumental pieces before this, so I wasn't used to playing the lead parts for so long. But when practicing it, I did have it sounding really well with the backing track, but when I played it in the recital, I made quite a few mistakes and it sounded quite bad. I think this is due to my nerves though, as it's the first time I played in the recital. So to improve, I need to have learnt the song further away from the performance, so I'm more confident playing it when improvising. Just more confident playing it on the day. When improvising, I was mainly playing what I was being marked on, so it was the major and minor pentatonic scales. But I also used the blues scale and different positions of the major and minor scale, and also, as I showed you earlier, the mixed Lydian mode. So I thought this gave it interesting blues sound to the piece, which is what it is, blues song. But I did find it quite difficult, as I wasn't used to playing a solo for that long, and it was 4 progressions that went on for ages. So I struggled coming up with original ideas on that, which is why I used the different modes and different scales. On Never Too Much, I didn't really look at any other artists because there was so much to take away on the original that I felt I didn't really need to look at anyone else. I didn't learn any of Paul Jackson Jr.'s licks on the solos. I only used the licks he used on the main melody, and I built my solo using techniques similar to the ones he does on his version. But I should have sat down and learnt a few of his licks at least, because when playing it, I felt I did well, but I felt I could have done much better playing in that style. The main melody wasn't too difficult to play, as it was a vocal melody. Also, I did include the octave slides in the solo, which I felt was pretty easy. And I also found it made my playing quite interesting because instead of just playing straight like solo and stuff, it became more melodic when I incorporated the octave slides. So I thought that was quite an interesting thing that I didn't realise about my playing. To improve in the future, I need to try and practice correctly by learning song sections in time and not just trying to learn it all in one session, and to slow it down when in the parts instead of just trying to learn it at full speed. For improvising over the solo, I feel like I could have done better. I did use modal playing in the solo, which I didn't find too difficult because I understand modes and how to incorporate them in my solos. And I found that as I said earlier, the octave slides helped me play more melodic. On Autumn Leaves, I looked at a few jazz instrumentals to see how they approach soloing. The main one I looked at was Bill Evans' version, but I didn't sit down with this because his version's so fast and crazy. It's on piano as well, so it would have been quite difficult to transpose. I felt it would have been quite difficult for my ability on guitar. But I felt I did play quite well modally on this song, because the songs, it was over basic chord progression. And I also used arpeggios pretty well over this, I felt, as at one section I just used an arpeggio of every chord, so that sounded like... which I was inspired from Black Friday, which is one of the LPW songs. That's by Steely Dan. We're also given a sight reading chart, which I felt like I did the first line well, because I had 5 minutes to look over it, but I didn't concentrate on the other lines, so I struggled on those. So from that, I need to learn the notes on the stave better, and also need to set up a practice routine where I go over sight reading. We also had a rhythm test where we were given a sheet of rhythms. We had to clap the rhythms out again. This is something I need to work on, as I didn't do too well in it. I'm not used to thinking about rhythms, but I think I'm better now than I was at the start of the year, because we've had experience thinking about the rhythms in funk and reggae and LPW. For the rhythm guitar part, we were given a chord chart, which we had to play the chords to the correct rhythms, which I felt comfortable for some of it, as I recognised some of the rhythms from playing some of the chord charts we'd been given in the ensemble class. But again, I feel like I could have been better by practicing reading more rhythms and sight reading exercises. I think what I've learned from doing this module is that I need to look at more artists' songs and learn their licks to help me improvise in the genre of music they play. I also need to spend more time practicing properly instead of just going over stuff I already know. So I need to practice properly to a metronome and practice sight reading. My tutors have actually given me a book title I need to search up and get. And it's filled with loads of sight reading exercises, which apparently help loads of people, so I need to get on that. Um, I also need to write out a practice routine instead of just picking up a guitar and thinking, oh, I could practice this. Where I think if it's more structured, it's going to be more productive. Um, but yeah, I think overall, um, I did not too bad on the recital pieces, um, but I could have definitely done better on them. Um, I think I left it a bit late to start practicing it properly. I also, like I said earlier, I practiced them a bit wrong where I was trying to learn them full speed from the beginning. But yeah, I think I've learned the lesson of slowing everything down and practice the songs, sections at a time.